Do you believe you're strong enough? Listen to the story of a woman whose life was hanging on a thread in the middle of the forest at 2 a.m., abandoned by two men. This story is both terrifying and motivating at the same time. It happened in 18th December 1994. A woman named Alison Botha was with her friends during the day at a beach. They were having fun, but then evening came. They decided to go back to Alison's apartment to continue with their party till around 1 a.m. when one of the friends requested that she could not sleep over and decided it was time for her to go home, but she did not have the means to take her home. So Alison Botha volunteered to drive her friend home. So they got out of the house, they went into the parking and straight into the car. Then Alison started the engine and they drove away. Alison Botha then left the friend at her apartment and came back. However, there was a problem. The spot which Alison Botha normally liked parking was already occupied by another car. So Alison Botha continued driving to look for a parking space. She drove for a while until she saw a parking space near a tree, but at this place it was a bit dark. So she went there and she parked. Then she reached on the passenger seat trying to get her handbag, but when she was turning to open the driver's door, somebody opened before Alison Botha could open the door. This person talked to Alison politely, but he was holding a knife and told Alison Botha, "Please move to the passenger seat or else I'll kill you." The person's voice was polite, but at the same time it was serious. "Move to the passenger seat or else I'll kill you." So Alison just politely moved to the passenger seat and sat there while she was frightened, not knowing whether to scream or open the door and run away, but she kept calm. The individual opened the door and got into the car, then told Alison Botha, "I need your car for just 1 hour. I want to follow a person who owes me some debt, and then I'll give you back your car. Then you'll continue with your normal life." Alison Botha told the individual that, "Please just leave me to go. Just you can go with the car. Let me go. I won't tell the police." But the person wanted to travel this journey of getting the debt from another individual with Alison Botha. So the person started the engine, reversed the car, and the journey began. Deep into the night, they went to another town where the driver picked another individual. The man got into the car and the driver introduced the individual who had gotten into the car to Alison Botha. The driver stated that Alison Botha was her friend, and he also told Alison Botha that this one, the guy behind, was also his friend. So the journey continued while they were talking, small chats here and there, until they reached a place which was dark, trees all over, and totally dark. It was a forest. Then the driver turned to Alison Botha and told her that, "We are going to rape you. Will you fight us?" Alison Botha, scared, told them that, "I will not fight you guys." They got outside the car and they told Alison Botha to strip all her clothes, and she stripped. Then the men took turns raping Alison Botha. The driver started, and the passenger who came later followed. They did turns on Alison Botha. When they were through with this act, they tried to suffocate Alison Botha. They tried to suffocate Alison Botha, but Alison Botha became unconscious and they left her down. Then the driver got into the car and took a knife. The driver did not want to leave Alison Botha alive because the previous week he had also raped another woman who was pregnant and left her to go. This woman was pregnant, went to the police station and reported the driver, and the driver was arrested. However, he was released because the woman reported this incident after a week and there was no evidence to hold the driver in the cells. So the driver was left. This incident, the driver was determined to finish off Alison Botha so that Alison Botha could not report him to the police station. He got into the car, took the knife and went straight to Alison Botha, who was unconscious, just lying down flat. And the driver started stabbing Alison Botha on the abdomen and near the pubic area so many times, around 37 times. Then he stood up and went to where his friend was. They continued chatting, they continued talking, they continued having a small chat between them. Then something happened. Alison Botha was not dead. She moved one of her legs and these two men noticed. They could not take chances. The driver with the knife went back and stabbed Alison Botha on the neck around 17 times. Then he stood up and went back to his friend and asked his friend, "Do you think she's dead by now?" And the friend answered, "No one can survive that." Then continued with their small chat and while calling each other their real names. One was called Franz, who was the driver, and the other one was called Theons. They stopped and they went back to the car. Then they reversed the car and they drove deep into the night back to their homes, and life for them continued normally. After they left, luckily Alison Botha was still alive. She could feel herself, she could feel so much pain coming from her neck and her abdomen. Alison Botha, she opened her eyes and she could see lights nearby. She knew she had no chance of surviving. So, while these men were chatting and mentioning their real names, Alison Botha had these names. One was Franz and the other one was Theons. So Alison Botha, with the strength left in her body, she wrote down the names of these two individuals so that in case anybody who would find a body lying in the forest would have a clue of the people who had done the stabbing to her. So she wrote Franz and Theons. Then below these two names she wrote, "I love you, Mom." Then she got some strength still in her. She stood up and took the clothes which the individuals threw out before they left and covered her nakedness. Then, with so much pain, then she tried standing up. When she stood up, her neck almost fell behind, and Alison Botha took her hand and supported the head. She stood up and she tried walking. Then she felt something falling from her abdomen. Looking down, she noticed her small intestine were coming out. So she took the other hand and covered her stomach. And she tried walking towards the light. She gathered all the strength she had in her body until she reached the road. Then she knew the only chance of surviving was walking to the middle of the road. And she continued. She walked to the middle of the road and she fell down in the middle of the road. Shortly after, a car was coming with so much speed, but when it saw Alison Botha lying on the road, the car reduced its speed, and when it neared Alison Botha, it almost stopped, but it went round Alison Botha's body and sped off. Maybe the driver thought that this is a setup. People are near this forest, they want to rob me. It sped off. Shortly after, another car came, but this time, thankfully, it stopped. And a man named Tian, a lad, came out of the car, and luckily this man was a veterinary, so he had some background in medicine. The man did first aid to Alison Botha, and then he called help. He called for help, called the police, and the police were able to send the ambulance, which came after 1 hour 45 minutes, and Alison Botha was taken from the ground. They did a proper first aid, then into the ambulance, and the ambulance went to the hospital. When she reached the hospital, the doctors were shocked. How is this lady still alive with all these injuries on her body and blood oozing from her body so profusely? The doctors got Alison Botha into an emergency room. Then they started washing Alison Botha's intestine because they were full of charcoal and sand. They also worked on her neck, and they did not see any chance Alison Botha would recover from these wounds. So after the cleaning up, they tied her up and they left Alison Botha to rest. One of the doctors in this hospital said he had never seen anything like this of him practicing in the medical field for 16 years. The injury was so severe. This matter was also reported to the police, and after a few days, the police came to the hospital to see how Alison Botha was faring on, and if she could give the police a clue of the people who had committed this heinous crime. Luckily, Alison Botha recovered, but she was in so much pain. The police gave Alison Botha photos of criminals in the area after asking Alison Botha a few questions. So Alison Botha went through the photos and she was able to identify the two men who had raped her and stabbed her and left her for dead in the middle of the forest. Alison Botha wrote their names behind the photos and the police left. Within few days, the police started the investigation and they arrested the two individuals who were taken to the prison cells. The police also wanted Alison Botha to come to the police station to do an identification parade so that Alison Botha could touch the criminals who had raped her and stabbed her. Within few months, Alison Botha was stable and she left the hospital and went to identify the criminals in the police cells. And he positively identified the two. Her memory was so good. These two individuals were taken to court to face a fair trial. Their crimes were read and all the allegations to them. France had raped 3 women and they were all in the charge sheet. However, France did not agree to one rape case. He pled not guilty to one rape case. And Tions pled guilty because he had only raped Alison Botha, so he accepted to the allegations and trial continued. Alison Botha came and testified. The veterinary who got Alison Botha on the road came and also testified. The pregnant woman who was raped also came forward and testified. The trial was over and it was judgment time. The court found that France was guilty of the 3 rape allegations and Theons was also guilty of the allegation of raping Alison Botha on the night of 18th December 1994. These two individuals, France was given 3 life sentences and 25 years without parole. Theons was also given 1 life sentence and 25 years in prison. And Alison Botha felt this was fair. These people should be locked and never to be released ever again to the face of freedom. Alison Botha went ahead to write a book and she also became a motivational speaker who was really liked. She traveled to different countries and she also got a chance to do a movie of what happened on the 18th December 1994. However, in South Africa in 2011, the law changed. Offenders who had served a minimum sentence could get out on parole. So in 2023, both France and Thunes had served their minimum sentence of 25 years. They were released back into the society. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the tragic story that turned out to be somehow a blessing to Alison Botha, who was able to write a book, became a motivational speaker, and also a movie was acted to honor her. She also won a couple of awards along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, subscribe, follow, share. Until next time.